Thanks very much, Tommy, and thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for inviting us back today. I did stand up here about a year ago and spoke to you about the new Bayan Khundii discovery, which at the time was barely rock samples picked up at surface. Mid-2015, we had multiple multi-ounce samples that we gathered at surface, up to 4,000 grams per ton. And I guess as of last March, we had 15 holes drilled. So it was still a brand new discovery. Since that time, we've aggressively drilled this discovery. I'll show you some of that information, but we believe today we have one of the top new gold discoveries in the industry. And this adds to a district that was already starting to play out for us in southwestern Mongolia that includes a number of other prospects. We also have a alliance with Teck Resources, so not only do we have this core of gold projects that I'll focus on today, we have ongoing exploration through an alliance with Teck. We've just completed a $13.8 million bought deal with Paradigm and Canaccord, which has brought in a number of significant funds, funds that we hadn't seen active in that downturn in the cycle we just heard so much about. So Canadian and international funds coming into the company. And this is now going to launch us into a very aggressive drill program. Within the next 30 days, we'll see the first rig going, and by the end of April, early May, we'll see the second rig in operation. So I'm going to try to squeeze a lot into my now 8.4 minutes. We have a board that is a very seasoned, experienced board for a company of our size, and we've added to that since I was here last year with two individuals you see in the top right. Dr. Anna Bielik is Canada's first ambassador to Mongolia. She joined the board in June, and David Mosier, some of you may know that name, has done this in Africa and Russia. He's found and built and operated gold mines in those districts, so really brings that added strength of operations to the board. Our market cap today, 122 million Canadian. Our share price is approximately 84 cents. As I mentioned, 13 million plus in cash. You can see how our shares have performed since this time last year. We've gone from 20 cents to 80 cents, so a very strong return on that. And each time we've had our results come out, you can see those tick-ups on the share price chart. Our shareholder register is very strong as well. We now have about a quarter of the stock held by 11 different institutions spread throughout Asia, Europe, and North America. Teck Resources owns almost 9% of the company. Sandstorm Gold is there. And our retail holdings are quite strong as well. A number of those positions would be in the 3 to 10% on the retail side. Mongolia, you know, the headlines about Mongolia have largely been Oyu Tolgoi, but for the handful of juniors that have been there, there's been a number of M&A actions. Two stand out. QGX, a Canadian company, was acquired by the Kwok family for $280 million, and Hunu Coal was acquired, an Australian-listed company, for $400 million by a private Thai coal company. So behind the scenes, for this small group of juniors, there's been a very active M&A activity. Canada has become very involved through investments in the banking and mining system. Canada is also putting about $15 million into development programs to improve policy in the extractive sectors. You've got the Rio Tinto project now with another $5.5 billion injection, probably the biggest capital spend in the industry going on in Mongolia. You've got a new government elected who are going to be putting on a presentation at the PDAC tomorrow if you'd like to attend that as well. And you've got the Canadian government putting in place a Foreign Investor Protection Act. So a lot is going on in Mongolia today. This has resulted in a significant gain for all of the Mongolian explorers. As I said, there is just a handful now, but you can see those 5 companies that are listed on the left all have seen 100 to 300% gains in the last 12 months, and market caps have risen dramatically as well. This is why we're in this district. The Tian Shan Belt, as it runs through the central North Asia region, is virtually unexplored as it goes through southwestern Mongolia. We've set our minds to looking at occurrences in this belt. In fact, going back to the conversation between Warren and Tommy, this is a group of explorationists who have kicked about 3,000 prospects in Mongolia and turned away 99% of them to get to the ones I'm about to share with you. It is a belt that's host to multiple multi-million ounce deposits, and as I said, in a region in Mongolia that's unexplored. On the Teck side, outside of the gold projects, which we've held 100% interest in, we continue to explore the entire belt with Teck. And in short, if we find something there that Teck likes, they will get a 75% interest in that, and we'll get 25% after they spend $5 million. So to the gold projects. On the left-hand side of the page, you see two projects, the Altenar and Bayan Hundi projects. And on the right, you see where they are situated in southern Mongolia. That entire region in southern Mongolia, and in fact from the main Chinese rail line north, had no infrastructure and no mining when I arrived in this country 20 years ago. Everything you see there, other than the Trans-Siberian Express and the Trans-China Railway, didn't exist. And so this has all taken place very recently. We are only 175 kilometers from the Chinese railhead into China, and now a growing coal district just north of the border there. Our properties are proximal to one another enough so that we could look at a centralized processing facility. They're approximately 16 kilometers apart. This is what the landscape looks like in southwestern Mongolia. It is desolate, barren, rolling hills, and that area at Gold Hill is where a year and a bit ago we were out there picking up samples that were up to 4,000 grams per ton. Samples like you see on the right-hand side there. The geology here is dominated by Cretaceous cover. So you see the green overlies two windows of mineralized Devonian rocks that come up through that. That's the blue. When we went out there, we focused on drilling those two blue areas, particularly Striker and Gold Hill, which were most heavily mineralized at surface. Initial holes had 7 meters of almost an ounce of gold. We have now drilled 11,000 meters. We have 90 holes in that area you see on the right, largely Striker and Gold Hill. Broad zones of mineralization enveloped by high-grade core veins. So you get up to 149 meters at 2 grams. Within that, you've got multiple ore shoots of ounce-plus material. 23% of the holes have intersections of over an ounce. 30% of the holes we've drilled are open at depth. Here's an intersection of what this looked like, or a section in October of last year. Half a kilometer, repeated stacked zones of mineralization. Hole 17 in the center there was drilled in May, had 63 meters of 5 grams. But the story really changed for us in late last year, early this year, when we stepped out under that Cretaceous cover. So that green area you see surrounding the mineralized exposed region has now been tested, and this is what was reported in January. Our most pervasive, thickest zones of mineralization as we stepped out under that cover, 149 meters at 2 grams. And you can see the gram meter map on the left there, just how intense that mineralization is. And this is what it looks like as you go closer into what we call the midfield zone. 72 meters of 4 grams, 40 meters of 5 grams. Exceptional results for our first step out under cover. And from here, we have a kilometer to the east and half a kilometer to the north that's unexplored. This is a low sulfidation system. Based on our experts, we're just looking at the very top of this as it's poked up through that recent cover. We've only tested down on average about 90 meters. And as you can see on either side of this, the Kupol and Cerro Negro projects are similar, but have great vertical extent. So there's lots of room here from surface and at depth for testing. We have carried out initial metallurgy, and we've had fantastic results, 99% recovery on the high grade and 92% on the low grade. We will be beginning our exploration, infilling around midfield and Striker, but then getting out under that cover as we get into the May-June time period. So probably 20,000 meters of drilling between now and September in this region. In this area, we also have a number of other projects, and I just want to touch on them quickly. Altan Arrow is a brand new discovery we made in October, similar style, 3 kilometers north of Bayan Hundi. Again, high-grade gold in low-grade zones. We're getting up to 2 meters at 23 grams. And then Altenar, this is where it started in this district for us. We drilled a hole in November, reported in December, which intersected 110 meters of 10 grams. This is a new style of mineralization here. The core of it was 14 meters of 55 grams of gold. That's really opened up this trend, which is 6 kilometers long, for further exploration, and something we'll be dedicating additional drilling to as we get into the 2017 program. We have a water area drilled off in the region. There's power in the nearby town. As I said, we're only 175 kilometers from the Chinese border, so bringing in plant and equipment is quite reasonable. We have effectively met all of our targets of 2016 program and more. We now have a new district in front of us that is begging to be drilled, and we now have the financial wherewithal to carry out that drill program. So from mid-April through the end of the year, you'll see drilling and drill results continuing to come out of this new discovery. Thank you very much.